It's the powerful effect of causing your flasks to instantly recover life and mana whenever you're low. This could potentially be a powerful panic button, or maybe you want to build around permanently being on low life or mana, so all of your flask usage is instant.
That's true. I could see maybe there could be a good interaction with this and, oh, what's the thing that you can't regenerate above low life? Petrified blood. We'll see.
If you manage to win the entire tournament, you'll not only receive the reward for the final match, but Hinokura will also give you a choice of 3 additional... London.
I don't know. I don't think this one would be very good. Because, like, so you could use...
Why do the keen of mind seek to
right,
satiate their curiosity in darkness and depravity? Innocence is our father. Ariath is our mother.
Yeah.
When a daughter strays from the light,
of 3 additional
she makes
exclusive
herself
items,
an orphan.
let's have a look at some of the things you may be offered.
Learn
First
well
up, there
the
are 4
lessons
unique
that
items that
class will
exclusively
teach
come
you.
from Hinokura for completing the tournament.
It is your only
This
hope
belt, for example,
of finding
lists
your
a
way home.
plethora of really powerful properties, both beneficial and detrimental. While you're wearing the belt, the property shifts around every 5 seconds. You never know what's going to happen next. Will you always crit, always evade, never evade? Maybe you're able to find some ways to build around the detrimental effects to create as much upside as possible.
The very sand shivers with malice. There's a power here that welcomes me.
Oh, fuck. That's a big boy. Especially because, you know, like a lot of them, it's got a blue one and a red one, or a blue one and a green one right next to each other. Dude, that is insane.
Cora also has a selection of
Holy
special, more
fuck.
advanced passive tree tattoos that you can only receive from her. This one transforms a 30 intelligence notable attribute skill into one that increases the level of all of your intelligence gems.
That's nuts.
You're only allowed 1 copy of the specific attribute combination tattoo on a tree. Hinokura can also award you with a new type of item called an omen. These are small items that sit in your inventory until a condition is met, at which point they are consumed, and something happens. In this case, when you reach 25% life, your flasks are all replenished. Now don't worry, each player can only consume 1 omen per combat area, so you don't have any reason to fill your entire inventory with them. This one creates a portal on death.
I'll be using
We made it for me. It won't try to save your life, but it will save you some time. This one grants you Soul Eater when you level up. It's definitely worth carrying around for that occasional massive power boost.
That's cool.
Omens are tradable but hard to get, so use them carefully. I shudder to think about how much this one is going to be worth in the presence of those incredibly rare unique weapons from 320. Now note, going off script again here, back in the day, when we had stuff like the Prophecy and so on that let you upgrade to rare forcibly on a specific base type, we had to block the good items by putting crap uniques on the, sorry, I meant upgrade to unique. We put crap uniques on that base type so that you couldn't...
Yeah, you did do that, huh? Thank you. Yeah, I thought that's why, yeah, nobody gives a fuck about Worm's mold, do they? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Get it every time. Well, we've stopped doing that, so a lot of the uniques that were upgraded in 320 are just the only thing on the base type. So items like this let you deterministically get something quite valuable, hence they are quite rare. The most exciting one, though. Finally, Hinokura can offer you a lock per hair. This is a very special currency item that lets you foresee the result of using another currency item to craft something. This...
Wow. Holy shit. Can you explain it? So, like, imagine you do a roll, like, you know, in I don't know, maybe you've played down before, but like, so you're applying a buff to an item. Modifying the ability removes the ability to proceed. So you can only do this once, right, per item? See, that's what makes it so crazy, because, like, this is obviously probably going to be, like, I would say probably, like, the one divine item, you know, something like that. At least for this week, depending on if they remove it afterwards, it'll probably go up. It'll probably be, like, one divine. I don't think it's going to be more, but try 50? Ooh, I don't think so. I don't think so, but it depends on how rare it is. If it's as rare as I think it will be, based off of it being a current level league mechanic, I don't see it being more than 5 divines. Yeah, and so basically, every single time that you apply a buff, right, to something, that, like, somebody said double corrupt. Double corrupt isn't actually a currency. Double corrupt is applied to the altar. So I don't think double corrupt works with this, but a regular ball orb would. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so imagine it just basically tells you what you're going to roll before you roll it. And like, so also running these things can, like, you can do a roll of the dice that will make you the equivalent of, like, I don't know, 1 million gold, or lose you everything immediately.
Means, for example, you can know whether it's worth exalting your item, because you will know exactly what the outcome is.
Yeah.
Hinakora's Lock will slot into your crafting pipeline with powerful consequences.
I need more mana.
The Trial of the Ancestors offers a wide selection of valuable new rewards as you complete matches and tournaments.
Yeah.
We really look forward to seeing what strategies you develop for building, equipping, carefully placing, and playing alongside your tribe. So that's the new Challenge League, but
really
Path of
cool.
Exile expansions contain more than just a new league every 3 months. In each update, we also augment Path of Exile's endgame and shift the metagame with new gems and balance changes. This expansion is no exception. I'm going to explain the other changes in a medium amount of detail. I'm conscious that we have both new and existing players. For new players, I'm going to try to include some extra content to help make the change.
If you want to understand Path of Exile's crafting system, you have to understand that the depth of Path of Exile's crafting system is deeper than Diablo 3 and Diablo 4 put together, the entirety of both games. If you ask somebody who plays Path of Exile and who has played Path of Exile for the last 10 years, how well they understand the crafting system, most of them will say, a little bit.
Just more understandable. You can find out all the detail in the patch notes and other information we'll be posting in the few weeks before release. Let's start with how the Trial of the Ancestors expansion expands Path of Exile's endgame. In December last year, we released an expansion called the Forbidden Sanctum, which introduced the Sanctum Challenge League. This league was a roguelike game set within Path of Exile, where you would randomly explore a randomly generated sanctum one room at a time, alongside your regular play. You'd pick which
I never
rooms
got a chance to play this league, so if they're adding this back, I'll be curious to try it out.
you wanted to explore out of several options and accumulate beneficial boons and detrimental afflictions that made your run easier and harder, respectively. Not only did Sanctum work really well as a league, but it also had the potential to be added to Path of Exile as part of its core endgame content, alongside systems like mapping, delve, and heist. Well, in this expansion, the Forbidden Sanctum is back.
I smart, take care.
All right. There's an eye.
I've really been looking forward to this one.
Fine
We're
work with
reintroducing the Sanctum as core
Still
content in
alive.
Path of Exile's endgame. You'll initially meet Divinia, the Sanctum NPC, in Act 10. Sanctums are now tradable items that you can find while playing maps in the endgame. A forbidden tome represents a whole floor of the Sanctum, and its rooms can be played back to back, or you can take breaks between them and do something else if you choose. Upon successfully completing that Sanctum floor, the next floor is generated as a tradable item with all of the state of your Sanctum run built in.
I love how they learned this from Expedition, or no, Incursion, and they've just kind of applied this to everything going forward. I'm so glad.
Means that the item stores what boons and afflictions you had, what rewards you've locked in, and how much resolve you have left. You can then either play this floor or trade it to someone else if it feels more beneficial.
Yeah, sure.
For example, let's say you manage to lock in...
Oh, that's a good one. Look at that. Received 1x Mirror of Kalandra. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that'd be good.
A really valuable reward.
Yeah.
The example here is a mirror of Calandra, but you'll also notice that... Do I have a laser pointer? It doesn't work on the board. Okay, one resolve. This is an example here where the player has a very good reward locked in, but a massive pile of dangerous afflictions and only one resolve on them. If you don't feel capable of completing the rest of the Sanctum from this point, then it would normally be a write-off, right? If you gave this to me, no way am I getting that mirror. But you can now trade the Sanctum state to someone else who is willing to pay for the chance to earn the mirror.
So, you know what this creates, right? It's a one resolve equals 1 HP. Oh, wow. Not only does it create an economy around it, but it also allows you to build a character to play hard maps like this.
Or lose it. And you know, you could look at expected value in economics, right? It's worth something to that. You trade it for like 5 chaos to someone, they run it and lose their chaos. Your relics, which act as passive bonuses within the Sanctum, are locked in for the run when you...
This is what they did with Lost Depot, right? Or Lost Depot. They had some sort of system that was similar to this. Because whenever I looked at their system, I thought that was genius. Like, if this works the way I think it works, this is such an awesome idea.
Start the first floor and can't be changed for the rest of the run. Speaking of relics, they're now tradable and have been rebalanced around us. To those of you wondering, we have decided against bringing back Sanctified relics for now. A complete Sanctum run now requires killing the final boss, Lycia, in both her first and second form. She will always drop a unique relic, and these have been reworked and replaced as we rebalance everything.
Okay.
An important aspect of the new Sanctum balance is that your primary defenses now have some effect on protecting your resolve. Your armor allows you to mitigate resolve loss, and your evasion grants you a chance to avoid resolve loss entirely, a lot like how armor and evasion work. Your energy shield grants you resolve Aegis, which is a mechanic that works similarly to how energy shield behaves for life.
See, that's what I was saying, right? It's like people that are built like this, they can maybe do one of those runs, a one life run. You see what I'm saying?
In light of the new defensive opportunities and learnings from the original Challenge League, we've rebalanced the difficulty of Sanctum, especially in later floors, and have worked to add more monster and room variety to runs. We've added new boons and afflictions themed around the new defensive mechanics, and have rebalanced many of the other ones. Like other optional endgame systems that involve tradable items, players who don't want to play Sanctum can trade their Sanctums to other players in exchange for an item or currency that benefits them more. Successful Sanctum play can generate a lot of rewards. It'll potentially be possible to build characters dedicated to Sanctum running and just farm Sanctums repeatedly in order to...
See, they get it. Bro, they get it. That's what it's about. Is giving people different ways to play the game to extend their investment in the game.
The profit.
Thank God.
Sanctum isn't the only improvement that Trial of the Ancestors brings to Path of Exile's endgame. We're also introducing 16 new Atlas Keystone passives to the Atlas passive tree. As a quick summary for new players joining us, the Atlas tree is a system that allows you to customize your endgame experience in Path of Exile.
Guys, I know that this might seem upsetting for you. If you see this, you might want to lay down. Rest assured, after the first 1,000 hours, you will begin to understand it, okay?
As you complete different maps, you gain skill points that can be allocated in the tree. You could use these points to modify the behavior of different content you encounter in in-game maps to make it more difficult or more rewarding, or to behave entirely differently. The system allows you to double down on the content you enjoy and avoid content you don't. Keystones are really impactful passives that totally change how in-game systems behave. Usually they have an element of give and take, and require you to come up with new strategies to take advantage of them. Each of these 16 new Atlas Keystones changes how you might interact with Path of Exile's endgame.
You wanna hear a hot take from me? I think that the hard mode for the
have a look at some of them now. We will reveal the rest of them before the release of Trial of the Ancestors in a few weeks. Extreme Archaeology completely changes how you play expedition encounters. Instead of placing a series of regular explosives, you now place one gigantic explosive. Every single chest or monster in the book. Blast radius is affected by every remnant in that radius.
Yeah. Boom. Boom, bitch. Oh, shit. And then they instantly kill him because he didn't see the one that said their attacks always crit.
Speaker of the Dead makes it so that tormented spirits can possess you rather than possessing monsters. Boosting your stats instead. While possessed, you can touch monsters just like a spirit can, making them stronger and more rewarding. It's kind of getting silly at this point, isn't it? Blight is like a tower defense minigame inside Path of Exile. The Cassia's Pride Keystone makes it so that Blight monsters take significantly less damage from players and significantly more damage from Blight towers. This basically lets you go all in playing it like an actual tower defense game. Because we can. Lucid Dreams makes it so that Val's side areas in your maps are no longer corrupted, meaning that you can use currency items to change their mods. That's right, when you encounter a Val side area, the Keystone lets you craft it. Yeah, so we rebalance.
I think this may grasp us soon.
I wonder if people would be willing to do that.
This is the side area mods. We've improved reward outcomes, and we've made the downside mods a bit more punishing, you know, just to make it interesting if you try to go for the good outcomes.
Yeah.
You may also rarely encounter a unique Val side area.
Yeah, I saw that.
Destructive play makes it so that the Maven will summon between 1 and 3 extra random map bosses when you are fighting witnessed map bosses.
What?
So that the Maven will summon between 1 and 3 extra random map bosses when you are fighting witnessed map bosses. What? This Keystone is analogous to the map bosses when you are fighting witness map bosses.
So is this like a fucking betrayal invasion?
This Keystone is analogous to the Eldritch Altar Keystones that make those influences more difficult but more rewarding. There are another 11 new Keystones that we'll reveal over the next few weeks. Together, these 16 Keystones mean that regardless of how you enjoy your maps, you'll have plenty of new ways to play Path of Exile's endgame in this expansion. And I should note, in the initial draft of the keynote, I painstakingly went through every single Keystone. It took like 10 minutes. But we'll put them in the news to save you some time here. In the Trial of the Ancestors expansion, we're shifting Path of Exile's
I would have been fine with that.
Metagame in several ways. The first is by introducing 14 new support gems, which are designed to take existing categories of skills and provide entirely new ways to play them. For full information, check the final gem hovers when we post them in the next few weeks.
I can't believe they stole this idea from the Malignant Hearts in Diablo 4.
Let's have a look at a handful of these support gems now.
That's fucked up.
In Path of Exile, War Cries usually buff your party but don't directly hurt monsters. The Corrupting Cry support gem turns War Cries into damage-dealing skills by making them inflict corrupted blood on monsters affected by the War Cry or by your attacks that it exerts.
So I guess this is like, I guess maybe this fits into the cheapest.
The Returning Projectile support gem called...
I think I might try to play that. Because all you have to do is scale AoE damage, and then it goes the whole screen, and then I just... And then the mobs die. Right? I mean, I feel like that's how it should work, right? I mean, fuck.
Life is too precious to waste on you.
Causes projectiles from supported skills to return to you, piercing all targets but dealing a little less damage.
Okay.
I think there's another example too.
How do I get that?
The Fresh Meat support gem causes minions created by supported gems to gain adrenaline, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage for a duration after they're first summoned. So you've got to work out a way to keep refreshing your minions, and it makes them a lot more powerful. The Flamewood support gem causes totems to trigger projectile mortars at enemies that hit them. This is particularly synergistic with totems that can taunt enemies, such as Decoy Totem, or one of the new Chieftain Ascendancy skills that I might talk about shortly.
Okay.
The Sacrifice support gem works on spells that you either cast yourself or through totems. These spells now sacrifice a percentage of your current life or the totem's life to gain additional chaos damage based on how much life was sacrificed.
That would be fucking OP. Holy shit. That could be my dude. Holy fuck.
The Frigid Bond support gem affects Link skills and causes a cold mist to come over them.
Oh, bro, they stole this from Diablo 3. Oh, bro, what? Come on.
Enemies caught in the beam are chilled and are dealt cold damage over time. This creates a new tool for a cold damage over time build requiring strategic placement of both yourself and your linked ally. I mentioned it was going to get silly. The Locust Mine support gem looks OP and affects attack skills that use bows. The Locust Mine support gem looks OP and affects attack skills that use bows and wands. Instead of directly using the supported skill, you throw mines in an arc that use that skill for you, targeting your location when you detonate them. In addition to these gems, there are another 7 that we'll be revealing over the next few weeks.
Wow.
In addition to the 14 new support gems, our balance work for the Trial of the Ancestor.
I bet actually that one might be pretty good. Is the Corrupting Blood one with the War Shouts based off of how the Chieftain rework is going to be and the Chaos damage.
Involved is revamping 2 Ascendancy classes. These are the subclasses that you can specialize in as you play through Path of Exile's campaign. Each main character class has 3 Ascendancy classes available. In the last expansion, Crucible, we overhaul the Pathfinder and Saboteur. This time is the Guardian and Chieftain, which are specializations of the Templar and Marauders, respectively. While we were very happy with the theme of the Guardian, it was falling behind the power level and popularity of other Ascendancy classes. Our changes in this expansion have modernized the class and will present you with more relevant build opportunities than before. Brace yourselves. Okay.
The fuck?
Path of Exile 102. Harmony of Purpose can power up parties using link skills. Time of Need now completely cleanses and heals you every 4 seconds. Radiant and Unwavering Crusade both fully embrace the Holy Summoner theme by giving you access to some exciting new types of minions that are exclusive to this Ascendancy class. We have this picture on the announcement page, pathofexile.com/ancestor if you to scrutinize. Next.
Okay, here we go. This is
While the Guardian's revamp was similar to that of the Pathfinder,
I played Chieftain for the Mongu Asks one time, and I played it for Righteous Fire.
the Chieftain has received the Saboteur treatment. To be honest, we were unhappy about many aspects of this Ascendancy class in its old form, and so we have completely redesigned it. You can play it now. It's basically an entirely new Ascendancy class with the same name and art and a new way of approaching its themes.
Okay.
Its new skills let
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Holy shit! Wait, so does this stack? So like if you have max fire res on one thing, like 3% max fire res, and then 3% max cold res, do you have 6% max all res? I think. No? Oh, yeah, maximum fire resistance. I'm an idiot. I didn't read it. Modifiers to fire is, it's still fucking ridiculous, by the way. Let's see, there's like 3 or 4 things that give like fire res, max fire res. Like I think Elder Shields give it, obviously Purity of Fire gives it, I think 21 gives the next level of it. Fuck, that's insane. Dude, what if I did an RF build with that shouts as well? I wonder if I could do both. Wait, enemies you kill have a 5% chance to explode, dealing 500% of their max life is fire damage? Holy fuck. Modifiers to fire resistance also apply to cold and lightning resistances at 50% of their value. Recoup 10% of damage taken by your totems as life. Totems are okay, next, non-unique jewels increase and reductions to other damage types in a large radius are transformed to apply to fire damage. Okay. Trigger a level 20 Talwanish Chosen whenever you attack with a non-ball slam. I don't know what that is really. And what's this? Skills from equipped body armor are supported by level. Isn't that a shout? What the fuck? Nearby enemies have no fire resistance and its damage over time while you are stationary. So we would go with this one. We'd go with this one. We'd go with this one. And maybe with the damage.
I'd almost stop believing.
With this one here. That's to apply the fire damage. Holy fuck. Dude. Good for screaming build, though, since empty stationary on RF. Well, you can stand with RF. When you use stationary in ARPGs, when you play Righteous Fire, can't go into negative resistances. Yeah, but I think it could reduce their base, and then you could still apply flammability or something onto them on top of that, right? Oh fuck yeah, and yeah, you
God
channel Scorching Ray.
Now that you've drained
You, among other things, cause enemies to explode, turn off enemies' fire resistance while you're stationary, convert passive skills to apply to fire damage, and have your fire resistances apply to your cold and lightning resistances. I'll just give you a sec more to read.
one, was it?
All right, that's on the site too for you to check out. It's pretty powerful now.
Farewell.
To celebrate the release of the Trial of the Ancestors, we'll be hosting a boss kill event. To enter, create a hardcore solo self-found character in the Ancestor League and race to kill all 7 Uber Pinnacle bosses on the same character. Note that unlike the last event we ran, this one is not a Ruthless event.
Yeah.
We'll post
I
more
remember Ruthless, like it being only on Ruthless, people were upset about that.
information about the event and its prizes in the news before release. Best of luck to everyone. For the Ancestor Challenge League, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Shade and Disciple packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Ancestor League and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect the character's power or progression in any way, despite how cool they look. The Shade series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Alright, the sarcophagus back attachment imprisons an unspeakable evil that struggles to break free. Nearby monsters...
they stole this from Honkai Star Rail with Luocha.
Send it into a frenzy, and enemy deaths provide it with souls to feast upon. The Stygian Waypoint shackles visitors to your hideout in chains, yourself included. These chains are just cosmetic though, and they break as soon as you move. It would supposedly be a gameplay advantage to be able to imprison people. The Ferryman's armor set is so full of trapped souls that some of them try to escape. Moving while wearing the boots will leave souls in your wake trying to break free.
Great, another ground effect.
The
That's what we
Infernal
needed.
Portal opens a gate to the Netherrealm when you approach. This prompted a lot of internal discussion about whether using Hellfire to heat your hideout is actually safe and practical. The demon-bound crafting bench allows you to enslave a malevolent entity to craft items for you. Be warned, it
That's really, this is actually really cool.
has a sharp tongue and will mock you mercilessly.
You shamed me for such a paltry use.
I hope that they have it to where, like, if you, like, they have like a smart AI whenever you do like a an application of something. If you get a low roll, he'll laugh at you.
The Nebula character effect causes items you pick up to orbit you in an ethereal cloud of loot.
Just what we needed.
The Disciple
Great.
series of supporter packs also contain 6 exclusive microtransactions. Look at dog.
Wow.
I'm going to put that in the top pack. The Hero's Landing finisher effect summons a marble statue from the heavens to execute unique monsters you defeat. You decide whether it's the sword or the huge lump of rock that actually kills them. The Bell Tower map device heralds the opening of a new map with a peal of bells. Start to run out of portals though, and it will reflect your desperate situation.
I'm gonna buy that. I'm definitely gonna buy this. This is so good for stream because people will like, they'll see like, oh, it's on fire. Uh-oh. Yeah, I have to buy this for stream.
This is fine.
Whoa.
The Cathedral armor set refracts light through your character, creating beautiful patterns on the ground around it. If your life gets low, it responds in kind.
Okay, cool. It's like
The
stained
Observer
glass.
Diamond Flask summons a tentacled mass that fires its eye lasers at enemies you critically strike while the flask is
That
active.
does damage, right?
Again, cosmetic.
Ah.
The Currency Orb Charge effect lets you pick from a number of different currency types to replace your charges with, as long as you've used that currency item anytime from today onwards. Some people, we have to store it in the database, right? Some people will show they can be part of the exclusive club of players who have actually used a Mirror of Calandra. This effect also causes
Right now.
Don't? How does this work? Does it work on grays? Oh, look, and it changes sides too on the.
Oh, it was such a good stream. Oh my god, that was so good. I should be put in prison for that. Bro, he got a hate thread about him on the PoE subreddit about doing that.
your charges to display in town.
How rare are those? 1 in 2,000 hours / played.
So the theory is you go use your standard mirror,
Yeah.
which we all have, right?
Yep.
The Faithful Hound Pet is a very good doggo, and it knows a few tricks. You can command it to sit, roll over, or play dead. And yes, you can pet the dog. These new packs are available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the Lithomancer and Enchanter packs leave the store forever at the launch of Trial of the Ancestors, so now's your last chance to purchase them. There's some good stuff in those too. Thanks for your continued support. The fun part. For the last ExileCon, we developed a special card game that encapsulated the full gameplay arc of Path of Exile over the course of the event. Players could defeat monsters, progressively upgrade their items, use currency items to craft
Wait, so it's like you get all these? Do you have like is this someone like an Exodia? It's a Shaper?
their equipment, find and run maps, and eventually defeat pinnacle bosses to earn rewards. It was a whole lot of fun, and we've had so many requests to run it again. So this year, we're proud to bring you the 2023 version of the ExileCon card game. And like all Path of Exile expansions, it even includes a challenge league. In your swag bags, you'll have found a box of ExileCon cards, and then a gentleman outside will have asked to purchase them from you for real money.
Yeah.
If you have any cards left, you can use these to challenge GGG staff members who are walking around ExileCon as monsters. They'll be wearing t-shirts showing the monster's stats, which include symbols for their attack and defense. Using the cards in your deck box, and those you accumulate by defeating monsters, put together one set of armor, one weapon and shield, or a two-handed weapon, and an amulet and 2 rings. To defeat a monster, the damage on your weapon has to be equal to or larger than the defense of the monster, and the defense on the armor and shield have to be equal to or larger than the attack of the monster. It's that simple. There are some wildcard symbols that's explained on the rules in the box.
They should put this in the game.
Rings and amulets are pretty hard to find, and they can be used for either attack or defense. So to attack a monster, politely approach a staff member wearing the shirt, introduce yourself, and show them the set of equipment you want to use. If your symbols match, then you'll have defeated them, and they'll give you a reward and remove some of the durability from your items. They do this by clicking the card, so if you want to keep the card pristine, don't necessarily attack someone with it. It will get damaged in combat. Be careful not to waste your best items on low-level monsters. You're not allowed to attack the same monster twice in a row, so you need to explore ExileCon to find different GGG staff members. You can get maps by defeating monsters marked as gods. Take these maps to the map device to run them and progress through the tiers. On the back of the box is a list of quests. As you complete quests, you can visit the crafting bench on the top floor to receive rewards for completing those quests. While you're there, you can also use your currency items.
Bro, they put more thought into this than like some people put into like an entire video game.
To modify your equipment.
Like,
I mentioned that this year's version of the card game introduced a challenge league. That league is Delve. Accumulate sulfite and bring it to the Delve wall, sorry for the bad photo, it's hard with lighting, on the middle floor. Each sulfite card you hand in allows you to explore one tile of the Azurite mine. You'll all be working collaboratively throughout the event to delve deep into the mine, fight the monsters that lurk there, and uncover its treasures.
This is better, yeah, somebody mentioned this is actually a lot better than the TwitchCon ball pit.
And I feel really bad for the poor people that had to hang 3,000 cards on that wall.
Yeah.
You may eventually be able to challenge the pinnacle bosses if you manage to get really far in the card game. I'm the Searing Exarch, Jonathan is the Eater of Worlds, and Mark is the Maven. Defeating any of the 3 of us will reward you with a Mirror of Calandra enamel pin. This pin is exclusively available for winning the card game and won't be sold in the merchandise shop. Each person can only receive a maximum of 2 mirrors, and when they run out, we can't give any more out, so try to win the game early. The reason for 2 is a very typical Path of Exile reason, 1 for you and 1 to trade.
Smart.
Alright, it's almost time to go and experience ExileCon 2023. Aside from the card game, we've prepared a full weekend of activities for you. There's a busy roster of talks and interviews on the main stage and the streamer stage. We've posted a schedule at pathofexile.com/ExileCon so you can see what is happening when and where. The schedule also includes information on meet and greet sessions. Our special guests this year include a roster of many of your favorite streamers, but also some game development industry friends we've met over the last 16 years. We're proud to once again welcome the creators of the Diablo series, David Brevik, Max Schaefer, and Eric Schaefer, as well as
David Brevik made Diablo 2.
Travis Baldry, who you may know from Fate, Torchlight, and his popular fantasy books, or even the books he's narrated. They'll not only have meet and greet sessions, but are also participating in an action RPG roundtable discussion alongside me and Eric tomorrow on the stage. In all of the developer talks and panels, ExileCon attendees will be able to scan a QR code on their phone to submit questions for the speakers to discuss in the panel or on the Q&A section of the talk. The Path of Exile 2 ExileCon demo is a large one, and you may want to play it multiple times this weekend. In each session, you can pick from one of 4 character classes which start at various points throughout the first 4 acts of Path of Exile 2's campaign. Around half of each act is included in the demo, and your session time is limited to 45 minutes before you have to let someone else have a turn. Remember, as Jonathan said earlier, this demo is hard. Read the signs that explain how your skills combine together. Dodge roll is your new friend. You should also swing by the Path of Exile mobile demo at the chill out area on the top floor and check out its progress. It's coming along really well, and we'd love to get your feedback on it. We've created heaps of new Path of Exile merchandise, which is available at our merchandise shop.
I have this one. Where is it? Where is it? Where's that thing? Where'd it go? They sent it to me. Where'd it go? Oh, I think it's over there. I have it somewhere.
On the middle floor. We've made 17 new t-shirts, which include a few from our community t-shirt design competition. We've created a range of 24 enamel pins. You'll have found a random one in your swag bag. If you approach me and I'm wearing a pin, feel free to swap for the one you've got if you'd like. Happy to trade. You can purchase the others in the shop. As mentioned before, there's also the super exclusive Mirror of Calandra pin that is only available to winners of the card game. Maybe you're able to trade for a full set. There are 2 new posters. One is the Atlas passive tree, and the other is the periodic table of currency.
I'm pretty sure, is that all of them? Yeah, I wonder if that's even all of them. Yeah, it's not.
In addition to reprinting the incredibly popular Celestial Cat socks, we've also introduced the Chaos Orb socks, better for business meetings. There's also a range of 4 desk pads to keep your play area tidy. You can
bro, I want to get this one. This is fucking badass.
check them out at the demo zone. We have a limited range of ExileCon 2019 merchandise available in the store as well. Make sure to hit it up early if you want some of this, because stocks of the older items are quite limited. We have plenty of new merchandise for everyone though, and I think I might have underestimated that. The ExileCon livestream concludes tomorrow with our grand racing finale, where 4 players compete for up to $10,000 and the title of ExileCon 2023 Racing Champion. Afterwards, we're hosting an after party at 8 p.m. at the venue. If you're watching from home, please note that because there are multiple things going on at the same time here, and we can only stream one of them live, we'll be re-streaming 3 of today's talks tomorrow before the event starts. So to be clear, they're occurring here, people can watch them in person, but you can't watch them at that time because we're streaming something else. So we're going to re-stream those tomorrow in the 3 hours where it's way too early to do it in New Zealand, but you can watch them online from the States and Europe. This makes sure that everyone is fully up to date on all of the talks that have been announced about Path of Exile 2 before the important Q&A in the morning where you get to ask the important questions.
All right.
If you missed out on attending ExileCon this year, we'll be at Gamescom in Germany in August and PAX West in Seattle in September. At both shows, the Path of Exile 2 booth will have our ExileCon demo available to play and a small team of Grindiga Games developers, including me and Jonathan, to chat to, and we hope to see you there. Thanks so much for joining us this weekend at ExileCon 2023. Have a great show, everyone.
There it is. Holy shit. Wow.
G'day Exile, welcome back to the second half, the post-stall cast.
Say it's Ziggy D here.
For you, I'm Ziggy D, joined by once again by Nathal, Rise QT, and Nugian. We're gonna have a bit of a chat.
Wow. I mean, I would say, I mean, like, look. I mean, this is insane. Like, all the updates were great. I'm excited for, like, I'll be curious to know, like, what it's going to be like. How are you going to develop, like, PoE 1 and 2 at the same time? It seems like such a huge undertaking to, like, develop 2 games that are so similar but so different. I'll be really curious to see how that's going to happen, you know? There's 2 teams. Yeah, no, I understand. Like, I get it, right? I get it. But it just seems like a massive, like, big dick play. Definitely. They're already doing it? Oh, yeah, I know that. I mean, that's, yes, watch the Crip interview. It's pretty enlightening. Oh, no, I'll watch more stuff. I'm not going to watch any more of it today. I'll probably watch more of it tomorrow. 8 people made Calandra. Wow. Fuck. Yeah, I had no idea. That's insane. Diablo 4 devs have a deadline until June 24 to get the game good. Yeah, what did you guys think about it? It's a good time for gamers, yeah. Past year PoE 1 to run by an 8-man team. It's nuts because, like, I think Sanctum and Crucible were pretty good. I didn't mind them. I thought they were good. Yeah, I mean, so keep in mind, they obviously were not threatened by Diablo 4. Well, I feel like Diablo 4 is always going to be like, because the thing is that Like if you go and you look at, I'm just gonna mute and click on a couple of things. If you look at like some of the systems and things that they're adding into the game, like the level of complexity this game has is never really going to allow them to cannibalize like Diablo 4 players, because it's just so complex and so involved that people that are more casual gamers are just never going to be able to get into it. Now, I'm not sure how PoE 2 is going to change that. I have no idea. I think we're going to have to play the beta next year and find out. But overall, PoE 1 is never going to attract the couch co-op 3 hours a week Andy. You know, it's just not going to happen. I'm sure that those people exist, but they're in no way, shape, or form like a, you know, like the majority or something like that, you know? So PoE is to the same skill tree and even more shit? Yeah. So PoE 2 still has 1,500 passives? Yeah, there you go. Even following a guide is confusing? Yeah. So like this is obviously, like I don't think this kills Diablo 4. I don't think so at all, because Diablo 4 is made, it's the same way as like, let me think of a way to put it, like Smash Brothers doesn't kill Street Fighter. Or like, let me think of another example. Oh fuck. Like I mean, there's a million games. Like Escape from Tarkov doesn't kill Call of Duty. It's because it's for a different audience of players. Yeah, Tekken, yeah, stuff like that. iRacing doesn't kill Forza. Yeah, and so like, I obviously do think that like a lot of Diablo 4 players are looking at this right now, and they're thinking like, I think that, like with PoE 2, right? Think about how many different types of modifiers of playing your character that we just saw inside of this like 30-minute demo, or probably 15-minute demo for the Sorceress. Like there's already more depth in the gameplay of this character, almost. Maybe even more, I don't know, I didn't think about it, than a max level Sorcerer in Diablo 4. So, I just... I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna feel, man. People would juggle both PoE 2 and Diablo 4. Yeah. Sorry about the skill tree. Maybe close the game twice. I can't get into it. Well, yeah, not everybody's gonna get into the game. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Minecraft. Like, I've tried it. It's just not really my thing. Maybe I just haven't played it in the way that I enjoy it. Like, but I know Minecraft is a good game. I just don't really play it, right? That's all. I feel like they took a shot at Diablo 4 with the Sorc skill tree of PoE 2. Well, I don't think they were really thinking about Diablo 4 at all, to be honest with you. Like, this gameplay and everything is pretty independent of that, I would say. But yeah, I don't think anybody should feel bad about like, oh wow, like I'm not, you know, like I'm not playing this game, it's too complex for me. Like, you're not dumb for that, right? It's just, it's a game that requires a tremendous amount of investment and time. But it's a game that also, like, a person that has 2,000 hours in the game will have a decided advantage against a person that has 1,000 hours of knowledge. And, like, that's what this kind of game, that's what it does. Now, I hope that they introduce, like, some things in PoE 2 that make it a little bit easier for, like, new players to not fall into traps and make mistakes. And it make players want to invest more time. But we're going to have to see what that's going to look like in a year, right? I mean, like, they're announcing a beta in literally a year. So, we're going to have to see. Depends on what you like. Yeah, my friend likes Diablo. He couldn't get into PoE because of all the systems. Yeah. Just like WoW. It could be, yeah. PoE passive system isn't much worse than a Paragon board. Hell, it has a surf function. Yeah, I agree. And I think that functionally for most people it's the same thing because they just look up a build guide and do it. What do you think about gold currency in PoE? I don't really care about gold currency. I think that buying, so this is like in general how I feel about it. I think that buying currency is actually unfun and bad gameplay in PoE 1. I think that buying gear is fun and interesting gameplay in PoE 1. I have never made a currency trade in PoE 1 and enjoyed it. It's literal trash. You're messaging, you're competing against bots. Nobody is going to respond to you. It's fucking terrible. So yeah. What do you think about the new weapon, like flails and the 12 classes? I think it's a good idea because it introduces like more blended classes. I throw some shade in the idea though later talks. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that like a lot of people might just be interpreting it as them throwing shade because they're trying to like they're projecting. I think that a lot of the Diablo, I bet a lot of the people that make PoE, I bet they played Diablo 4, or maybe they still play Diablo 4. I don't know. But I'm sure that they played the game and tried it out, etc. So it's not like they hate Diablo or something like that. Of course, yeah, I mean, of course they do, right? I'm sure a number of the Diablo developers have played PoE. I mean, fuck, I'd be worried if they weren't doing that. You know what I mean? Gold currency is slaughter under other currencies, and all the vendors use it, so a piece of gear costs gold instead of 2 portal scrolls. Oh, I see. So it's vendor currency? That's nice. Don't you agree Diablo 4 doesn't know what it needs to be because you can't see where it's going to go? PoE 1 and 2, you can clearly see the road they're building. I don't know. I think that, like, I think we'll have to see what happens with Diablo 3. Joe Shelley didn't even know what SSF meant. I'd have to see that clip. I can't believe that he doesn't know what that means. Like, I refuse to believe that unless I see it. Yeah, no way. No, absolutely not. I'm not going to believe that. That's insane. So, Joe P tweeted about PoE earlier. Yeah, I saw that. It was in the Quinn interview. Well, if you link it to me on my Reddit, I'll take a look at it tomorrow. They see Season 2 is bigger than Diablo 4, let's wait and see. Well, it doesn't really matter, like, about Season 2, because, like, Season 2 isn't out right now. And, like, I played PoE ever since the start, right? I came in and out of the game many, many times. So, like, it's not like I played it consistently every league, but, like, PoE, whenever it first came out, didn't have anywhere near the level of depth that, you know, it does now. Like, it took many years for PoE to get where it is now, but also, like, the reason why it's good now is because they developed it with a mindset of sustainable development over the course of a decade. And that's really what they've done. And is Diablo 4 going to be able to do that? I don't know. I think we'll know in 2 years. You know, are things going in a good direction or not? Because, like, at that point, we'll be able to see kind of what's going to happen. Like, right now, like, I'm neutral. I'm neutral to negative. I'm not like negative, but I'm like, you know, like in terms of a reputation, I'm not neutral. I'm like unfriendly, but not hostile. I'm skeptical. Yeah, that's actually the best word I can use. Yeah, skeptical is a way better word. Diablo 4 board of directors. Yeah, we'll see. But they also cared what they learned over at PoE 2, and we'll start off strong. Diablo 4 started from scratch. Yeah, well, it's like they did, but they didn't have to, which is what was so weird about it. Why do PoE frogs hate Diablo so much? They hate Diablo because a lot of them are playing PoE because Diablo sucks. That's the reason. Like, most people, like, I remember during the beta of PoE, is that everybody was always talking about, excuse me, they were always talking about how Diablo 3 sucked. Like, the entire general chat of the game was all talking about Diablo 3 sucking game. That was the whole thing, all day, every day. Oh, true working spell. Yeah, and so, like, and I think that a lot of people are frustrated because, you know, Diablo probably, like, I mean, you have to remember, like, it was, I actually thought, I was an idiot, right? But, like, I thought whenever I first watched PoE that Trip was playing Diablo 2. I actually thought it was Diablo 2 because I didn't know any better. So, like, it's obvious that they made the game to be a lot like Diablo. And that's okay. Yeah, PoE exists because of Diablo. PoE is like, I would say probably like the spiritual successor of Diablo 2. Someone who moved to PoE, I can tell you that that's happening now with Diablo 4. Yeah, it's just kind of funny that like history is repeating itself 10 years later. They said they love Diablo 2, and that was the base of PoE. Yeah, exactly. The game's built on other games. Yeah, that's the way it should be. Kind of ironic, PoE is more like Diablo than Diablo these days. Well, I don't know. I need to go back and actually play Diablo 2 so I can actually, like, understand why people like it so much. Because I never really played it beyond Act 1. Crazy thing is, PoE's been developing for 4 years. Imagine making the game free to play, no pay to win, good looking game, and boss fights you've seen that there's anything else in Diablo 4, which is a $100 game. They kept nothing from Diablo 3, microtransaction-wise. True. True. Yeah. Like, I would say, I mean, I would say the Diablo 4 campaign is better than the PoE campaign, definitely. There's, like, way more cutscenes, it's way more involved, etc. But, like, you know, like, is that the only reason why people play a game like that? Probably not. Play Diablo 2 as an add-on. No, I want to play the base game. I don't want to play an add-on. Found a video where Joe Shelley doesn't know what solo self-found was. What was it? What's it called, Dr. Crusher? Yeah, what's it called? I want to see it. I want to hear it for myself. I don't believe it. Look in chat. Yeah, you can link it to Nomad too. It's the Quinn interview? No, I want to see it. I want to see the link. Are you botting or an AI personally? Oh, no, I'm an AI, yeah. Do you think all microtransactions from PoE 1 could limit PoE 2? No. I don't really think so. When are you playing Last Epoch finally? I don't know. I have so many other games that I want to play. It's hard for me to keep up with everything. Like, the truth is, I just need to play. I need to stream longer every day because I've just been like, I've been having really bad sleeping problems. Like, I've been waking up in the middle of the day, and then I go back to bed, and then I wake up again, and it's like almost, you know, like 9 p.m. You know, I mean, it is what it is, right? Okay.
Whether you're starting
to see this video. Yeah, I've been having a lot of problems with that personally. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, or what I'm going to do about it yet. But yeah, let me go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so this was an interview 3 years ago.
Okay, we have a million questions. It's a SIF. This isn't really fun. You can just say no. Okay. If it's like this, like not happening, or maybe, or like, you know, just it's a SIF. Solo self-found.
So,
so like part of the big sale, I mean, people like Leviathan and a bunch of other people do it in Diablo 3 where you just don't play with anyone else.
You can choose to play that way if you want. We're not going to officially support it in like a game mode or something.
Like no sort of game mode where you can select that. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. That's.
I feel like he said, "Oh yes." Like, yeah, I think he knows what it is to reach. Yeah, I feel like he was just more confused and unknowing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's what it was. Just a breath. Yeah, look, I will shit on Diablo 4 all day. I will fucking counter the devs all night. But it's got to be on something that's real, right? I think that's a big stretch, man. It is. It's a big stretch. Probably didn't hear SSF properly over a New Zealand accent. Yeah. You want to say SSF out loud? I was probably slightly confused. Maybe. How would Diablo 4 improve to compete with PoE? I mean, there's a million ways, right? I mean, I think they should just like, you know, just shore up their own fundamentals, make the things that are in the game work, and then, you know, you can think about everything else after that. Yeah, I think you should. I mean, yeah, don't overcomplicate things. Yeah, definitely. The lingo for SSF is probably a different language. A whole hardcore solo. Yeah, who knows? I mean, what are we talking about? It's like a fucking 5-second clip from 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Who cares? Anyway, back to PoE. The bosses, if they have 100 of these different bosses, that's fucking insane. That is absolutely fucking ridiculous, man. 100 of these different bosses. Because like Diablo, you know, they said they had 100 dungeons. And I counted about 7. So I don't know about that, right? So like I'll be curious to see what 100 bosses really looks like. Not most of this people get that. Well, that's okay. I mean, like the Breach bosses, for example, or the Scourge bosses. You know, that big fat dude who looks like Asmodan. Like, you know, I consider him a boss. Absolutely, he's a boss. Yeah, 7 dungeons in 100 places. Yeah. The June 2024 thought it'd be a lot. Oh, you thought PoE 2 was going to be a lot closer? I mean, like, really, man? That's only like 3 leagues. Like, I don't. I feel like that's going to be. It's going to be out pretty soon, and then, you know, it'll probably be in beta for 6 months, and then it'll come out hopefully at the end of the year. I mean, like, I mean, hopefully. Who the fuck knows? Yeah, I'm not even going to worry about it. Like, it's nice to keep up with it. It seems like Elden Ring, right? Where it's like, it was really great to hear updates about Elden Ring, but, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, this needs to come out now or whatever. Like, just make the game good, and whenever it's good, then we play the game. That's how I see it. All content combined, we've seen 10 plus unique bosses in PoE 2. Yeah, I think so. PoE 2 changed a lot since they showed it. Yeah, I think the graphic fidelity has gone up a lot too. I don't understand what I told the people that they're going to tend not to plan anything after ExileCon because they're going to want to have time to play something. I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah. Should watch with sound. Well, I've already watched the whole thing. I'm just playing it. I'm playing it in the background while I talk about it. That's all. Yeah, we've already watched the whole thing. Or at least like the whole keynote speech and everything like that. What's your opinion on having both games active? I mean, that's what Blizzard does with Classic WoW and Retail WoW, and I think it's a really good model. I'm curious to see how it's going to go, and it's really a tall order. It kind of makes me nervous, but I don't think that they're going to bite off more than they can chew, and I think that's kind of evident with how long they've taken to make not only PoE 2, but also PoE Mobile. Like, we heard about PoE Mobile, like about Diablo Mobile, and like they still haven't made it. So it's clear that they're probably not just going to rush something out and make it bad just to get it out into the public. Just check the Campfire thoughts. Yeah, I watched the Diablo 4 Campfire. I think that it actually was a very good one. Like, it's hard to talk about like how hyped I am for Diablo 4 whenever I see all this, which I think is just like way more complicated and better. But I mean, yeah, I'll go back and play Diablo 4 again. You know, I said I would go back and try it again if they were making improvements to the game, and they fixed the problems, and they really kind of did. So I'll try it again and see what happens. I don't know if I'm gonna play it today or not, but I'm just saying, like, in general. Do you think they'll launch PoE 1 in 2 weeks? Or will they do them at the same time? They're gonna stagger them. That's why I meant with like Classic WoW. Like Classic WoW gets an update, Retail WoW doesn't. And then it goes down, then Retail WoW gets an update, then Classic WoW gets an update, then Retail WoW gets an update, right? Like, that's how it works. Link the VOD? Sure. Yeah, this is just like the whole VOD of like the whole thing. It's from the Path of Exile channel. I'll link it to you guys right now. People get too much discouraged about getting into PoE. Yeah, I hope PoE 2 changes that a bit and makes it a little bit easier for new players to get into it. Like, I think there's L's that PoE takes that they don't really have to. Like, for example, I think you should be able to fully respec your character with no restrictions at all until you finish your roulette. I know that might sound kind of crazy, but I just don't really see the I don't see the value in locking a new or inexperienced player into a decision. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like that I'd like to see happen with PoE, but overall, you know, also like a language, like a lot of games have this. Like 2 examples of this is Lost Ark has this, and also I guess I know Lost Ark has it. I might. Game that has like a codex. What is under a codex? What's the name of the game that's a codex? Fuck. I don't remember. But I know Lost Ark has it. And BDO. Yeah, I haven't played BDO enough to even know that. But yeah. Oh, Honkai. Yeah, Honkai Star Rail. That was the one I was thinking of. Both of them have like a codex in the game that explains every single thing in the game. And I wish that PoE had a codex that was built into the game so people could look things up and understand them more easily. You can respec for free on up to level 70 in PoE China edition. Yeah, I'll be curious. I'd be curious to know why they don't let new players do that. Crazy how they want PoE 2 to be harder, dodge or die. Kind of interesting design shift. I don't think it's really that big of a design shift. I think that they've been trying to ever since patch 3.15, the Expedition League patch. I think they've been trying to slow down the game and make it harder. And I think Ruthless League is also another effort in doing that. And I kind of agree with them. I think that's a good idea. So, like, yeah, I definitely would like to see that happen. I don't know if that's really going to happen. Like, having to roll every attack, like Dark Souls, whenever you're playing an ARPG, does seem like it's kind of, it's going to be kind of monotonous. So I'm not really sure how it's going to be like. But I think also, like, it's going to be one of those things where you're really using the roll against, like, very large elites and also bosses. And you're just probably clearing packs like this, and it's not really that common. It's skill expression, so it's a good thing. Yeah, but not everything that's skill expression is a good thing. If it becomes like kind of the game is designed around allowing you to express skill rather than playing the game in a fluid and fun way. But I generally agree with you. Like, it's one of the things that I criticize Diablo 4 for a lot, is because I don't think that enough things in the game allow you to express skill. I like it personally, the goal's always been to slow down the game. Yeah, I just don't know if it's really going to happen. Delirium was the first jump into that design. Higher rewards, but bulked up enemies that had to be killed slowly and endgame with orbs. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I think other people might put it somewhere else, but sure, you could say Delirium. Either way, I think that PoE, like one of PoE's, I think the biggest problem with PoE in terms of gameplay, like obviously like getting into it is hard, but the biggest problem in regards to gameplay, I think, is visibility. Like, you can't see what's going on. Like, there'll be like 15 different effects in the game, and like I've said before, I hope they get rid of some of the, like, I think unnecessary effects and like overlap abilities and things. Like, I personally don't think that Corrupted Blood and Bleed both need to be in the game. I think only one does, outside of like maybe a boss or something like that. So I wish that they kind of like pruned some of the the negative effects and positive effects to make the game cleaner. And I think that they're going to do that with PoE 2 as well. Yeah, and a few modifiers. Yeah, less is more. I agree. Typical bloat with old games. Yeah. Corrupted Blood can be negated though. Yeah, but like that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm saying. You also feel the feeling for loot for newcomers is not as fun. I think that I hope that they don't make crafting in PoE 2 as complex as crafting in PoE 1. I think that crafting should definitely be extremely complex and interesting, but I think the levels of it are overwhelming for even an adept player to understand. And I think they should probably simplify it, or at least, wipe the slate and start building on it again, which is, I think, a good thing. You already removed Scouring and Alteration Orbs. I've always thought that, like, I kind of like reroll orbs, like Alterations and Chaos Orbs. I think those are good because they're interesting. Complexity was added because of some of the expansions. We'll think about, like, yeah, Beast crafting, like Harvest crafting, Betrayal crafting. I think Betrayal affixes now. Delve, Fossils, Scarabs, yeah. Essence crafting. Oh my god, there's like so many different ways to craft. Synthesis, yeah, synthesis crafting. Thoughts on Gem Sockets being taken off here in armor and weapons? I want to see it, I want to play it and see what it's like. PoE 2 barely has any loot, nothing drops. That's only because they don't have the items that are showing, except for the gold. If you watch, like, the item will drop and then it will disappear. And also, like, I don't think it's like super pog that whenever you kill, like, you shouldn't need 17 different item filters, like, just to understand what's happening in the game. It should be simpler and easier to understand. I think that oftentimes, like, knowledge in video games is, like, it's very hard to balance knowledge in video games. Because like people want to be rewarded for playing a game a lot, and being good at that game is also being knowledgeable at the game, but you also don't want to make it to where that knowledge is a barrier to entry for new players because of how much of it you have to have and how much of it you have to know. So it's like, yeah, I don't think that like just more game knowledge is like just all, like anything that rewards game knowledge is good and anything that doesn't is bad. I don't look at it that way. So we'll have to see. PoE2 is path of building implemented into the game. They hired the POV dev to make that for them. That's brilliant. That's great, yeah. Not using guides would break a character faster in Diablo 4 or PoE. Definitely in PoE. Less debuff loot filters would be so nice. Yeah, I'll have to play that game and learn it for myself. Breaking characters just means you won't be able to reach that far into endgame, but it's a lot more than enough to finish the game. I think that you vastly overestimate how much people can fuck up a video game. Like, I bricked my first PoE character and it caused me to quit the game for a year. I think a lot of people did that. The problem is that I made decisions that were, in my mind, like, I didn't feel like I made bad decisions. Like, basically, the right decision should be the intuitive one. It shouldn't be like, you know, for example, like fire damage multiplier versus like fire damage flat base damage. I think an average person isn't going to understand the difference between those two things, and I don't think that having those in the game and distinguishing between them makes the game better. I think that it just makes it more complex and harder to understand for new players. Increase versus more is the worst one, or the best example. That's our first look at PoE2. Already looks better than Diablo 4. Thoughts? I think the game looks amazing. They need to have a tooltip that clearly states, yeah, that's what I was saying about having a codex or something like that, to where players can look it up and get in-game information. I just think that in general, every time that a player has to go outside of the game in order to find information about the game, that is a shortcoming of the game. I mean, Bolt gives us the option for more build paths. Well, it doesn't though, because like one's just better than the other. Instead, this is the dumbed-down version that captures new players. I think they're adding all the visual clutter on release. Yeah, I hope that they do get rid of a lot of that stuff, but we'll see if that is.
With Marseilles' complaints. Our Emperor is fully aware of the General's fickle nature.
The bigger targets, it was mostly, these are the good two abilities I would use for clearing, and this is the two, maybe three, that I would use for single target. And I do like it, because it does change the gameplay depending on what you're actually facing. So that's something I really appreciate a lot outside of blind minion builds, to have that in the non-minion builds archetypes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think overall, it's definitely a new game, but it's a blast to play, absolutely. So we really just want to find out more, so we're going to go straight over to the Q&A now, and it's going to be very interesting to see what we see.
In a few moments now, we are going to have a QR code appearing behind me. If you want to get some questions into the panel, all you have to do is scan that QR code, and it will lead you to a website that you can submit questions on. Let's start with the one that's got quite a lot of attention. Is Dr. Gold. Will Gold become the de facto player?
This is for your own good.
No, but not because we're putting any restrictions on it. It's still tradable between players, but it would be like trading in like Scrolls of Wisdom or something, right? Like you just not do it. Like, there's much bigger currency that's worth more that you can do trading in. So yeah, it's kind of just not really something that would, I think, not something I believe will happen really. Anyway.
Okay. Considerations are being taken for players who might prefer
there will still be focus on filling out those skill gems to an extent. You'll have spirit reservations and things like that, and you'll probably invest more heavily in the spirit on a build that's like that. So that's something you can focus on. If you do want to focus more on a single skill, you will be missing out on the opportunity to bestow more damage potentially, but it gives you more opportunity to think about what the
I had a conversation with a designer a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, I just want to be able to attack with 1 or 2 skills. I'll just use this skill and that skill. And okay, but like, you know, if you just added, you know, like armor break here, then you'd be able to do like the X more damage. And oh yeah, well, you know, I guess I'll just add that too, you know, just to get the extra damage boost. And then I'm like, oh, you know, actually, like you could add like this skill, you get a bit more damage again if you combat it with this. And then they're like, oh, you know what, I guess I'd add that too. I might as well just to my build, just because, you know, like, and pretty soon you've walked them through the steps of getting to all 9, and he's got a whole build there. And it's like, you know, basically people, if you balance it right, then people will want to do more things just naturally, and it won't feel like a thing that they don't want to do, because like they'll just realize pretty soon, oh yeah, it's fun if I use this also, and it's fun if I use that also. And I think it's also worth mentioning that you don't have to be using all 9 skills all the time. Like, it is absolutely intentional. Like, the reason we're giving you so many 6 links is so you can have situationally dependent skills that you just use occasionally, just when the situation is there. So like, that's always something we want, right? Like, we don't necessarily want you to be using all 9 skills every minute. It's like, you know, yeah, use them sometimes.
Yeah, different skills for different situations, but in that situation you might use that one skill. And there's also the
you managed to kill a granddaddy.
You automate skills that later in the game, once your character's really advanced, you might find ways to simplify your combat interactions, but then you might also find ways to make them much more complicated with other tools.
So it's still PoE, you can still very much make your own game of it.
Like all the cast on stuff takes a skill slot, right? Like every cast on whatever that you're using is gonna require one. I mean, that you can, I believe you can have multiple cast on like active skills in a cast on shock, for example. So you can still trigger more, but of course you're reducing the number of support gems that you can attach in that case, in that trade-off. So yeah, anyway, that's the.
And for a meta gem like a totem or barrier invocation, you can put a whole sequence on them and cycle through them, and
which is very fun. But
you'll get a combo within your automated or your
So you can actually the order of the gems in the item actually determines the order that the totem will cast the things. And I believe we also, although I don't know if they're actually in right now, the sequencing meta gems. Do we have those in?
No, they're not functional.
Right, they're not functional at the moment. Okay, yeah. So there's another one which is interesting, which is that you can put there's a sequencing meta gem you can use to put multiple active gems in order, and then when you use the skill, the character will cast them one at a time. So there are actually like various things like that are still in there. It's just, you know, that's.
One thing that came up there was situations to use different skills, and we are putting in a lot. We're creating more situations where you will consider to use more skills or to change your build for those situations. So something you might have seen in the demos is that a number of monsters are highly resistant to things. Normally monsters have a resistance and it can be quite small. We have them going up to, like, you'll find a number of monsters that are 75% resistant to an element, but most monsters in the game aren't resistant to anything. And often there are also monsters that are vulnerable to different elements. So now one thing you can do to get around this is we're adding a lot more penetration to the tree, which means if you don't want to have to use the 2 skills, you can speak into penetration, use the 1 damage type. However, penetration does not go into the negatives. It will be bottomed out at 0.
It's opportunity cost if you're going to do that. So you can do that sort of stuff. But in general as well, like just with regard to monster design stuff, like we're trying to make everything less flat. Like monsters will very much have strengths and weaknesses that are much more prominent than they were in PoE 1. So that kind of thing, like that just makes everything more situational, as Mark was saying.
Yeah, I mean, talking about weaknesses, like Mark mentioned, there's resistances in monsters, but there are also vulnerabilities, so you can like adjust your build to take advantage of something.
We just didn't want it to just be single target and AoE, and those are your two distinctions. We wanted to have more situations that you're adapting to than just that.
But it's also not just those plus resistances either. There's like also like the group size and just like the general. Like there should be many different things, like many factors that can make a skill good. Because that's really what differentiates between different skills. Like when would I use one? It's like so the more of that we can add, the more sort of interest you have between different skills and when they're good and when they're bad.
All right. So the next question people want to know the answer to: will we see a divergence in trade philosophy between the now split games, PoE 1 and 2?
I don't know that we would really. Like, we still believe in the trade philosophy we have. So, like, yeah, I don't really see that changing particularly. Like, there have been some discussions about things we could do to ease things, to make things a bit easier. But honestly, those would be more like quality of life things, and I don't see any reason why PoE 1 wouldn't get them also. Yeah, that's kind of like a like the kind of like those, I guess those like trade philosophy things are not something that's really in the scope of the split, right? Those are sort of just things that would be the same for regardless of which game it is.
At what point in the development of PoE 2 did you realize the game was too different and needed to be separate from PoE 1? Or was it like sort of a gradual thing?
So to me, it was right after the Act 2 reveal. Like soon after that, it was just kind of this like we were making a huge amount of design changes. We were kind of doing a lot of things that, like I was really keen to experiment with like all sorts of changes. I mean, like, you know, all things like dodge rolls and stuff. I mean, it's all like, you know, there's so much of that stuff there where it's like, as we started to sort of design stuff, we're like, okay, well, what would this PoE? It's not even going to really feel like something like people who have been here and they've been playing the demo. You probably noticed, like, yeah, it just has such a different feel, and we're kind of like, well, why take away the thing that we have that's like that people like? You know, it might be. I mean, I would hope that everyone will love PoE 2 more, but there might be some people who don't and whatever. And then you also look at things like WoW Classic and stuff like that, and you're like, there are certain people who like want to go back and play that old stuff, and it's like, you know, and that was we were looking at that, but it's also this kind of thing of like, yeah, like we have this thing going. Like we were probably going to be destroying too much as we made that transition in terms of like people's character, like items and things like that. It's like things that they know, and we're just like, yeah, there's no real reason to get rid of that stuff. We can actually just do both. Why not have it all?
All right. So this one might be for you, Rishi, I think. How will we roll maps in PoE 2 without Scours and Chaos Orbs? Or Chaos Orbs exist, but they work differently.
Yep.
Is the mapping system changing fundamentally, so rolling might not be necessary?
Well, they will still be, you know, itemized maps to some extent, and they will still be rolling.
More than some extent, it's just they're itemized maps.
Yes,
it's still
exist. And it might just be harder to roll your maps with things, and you might just have to deal with mods that you might have otherwise wanted to just not run, and now you just...
I mean, we definitely reevaluate what mods are on maps.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Here's one for Mark, most likely. How many new monsters explode into spikes?
Well, yeah, and I ran out of time in my monsters talk. I had some of this. The spikers still exist, but
yes.
What do they call Porcupine Goliath? Say.
Yeah.
Eternal name Spiker. So they still exist, but they in PoE 2, every monster's not every, but most monsters' projectiles actually use like a ballistic system now, where they actually adhere to gravity. So the off-screening is almost entirely gone. Projectiles will fall and hit the ground. So if you're far away, you're not going to get hit by them. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure that exact same monster, I don't think it's in the demo, but it is in Act 2. They die, and then they have a like animation where they vibrate, and then the spikes fire out. So no just instantly killing them to then instantly dying. We're trying very, very hard to have minimal off-screening, zero off-screening, and zero situation where you just instantaneously die to something you did. But, I mean, if it happens on accident, is probably the reality, but we obviously try very hard not to make that happen.
They are small projectiles as well, so dodge roll will let you avoid them entirely.
They are projectiles, so dodge roll will avoid them.
No, can't confirm. They are in Act 2, as he says, but they're much more, like, actually dodgeable. We've been shown how PoE 2 will fix plenty of fundamental issues that Path of Exile has. Field of Melee, mana reservation, tons of things. Do we have any plans to backport some of these changes to the first game?
That's a pretty interesting question. I think there's a lot of that stuff that we're doing there, like, was what facilitated the need to split the games in the first place. So it's like, I guess everyone's going to have their list of like, I wish they just had PoE1 but with this extra change in it or whatever. But I guess they all kind of come as a package because the balance of the game kind of like is balanced with all the stuff in mind. So it is pretty hard to sort of split some of those changes. I mean, what would it do, you know, for some of the stuff? What would it do if you putting Spirit back in PoE1? Like, it changes. There's a lot of sort of things around that. It's not quite easy to just like put that in, and that's the thing. You know?
Like the caster changes to the caster weapons, bringing them back but mean destroying everyone's existing caster items because, well, they'll no longer have attack.
There's quite a lot of complexity around that stuff.
So, yeah.
Unfortunate, but fair. Is there any intention to, actually I know the answer to this one, but I'll ask it. Is there any intention to upgrade PoE1 to the new engine that PoE2 will be using? If so, if not, what does this mean for PoE1 going forward?
Yep, so the engines are shared, and the reason that has to happen just as a technical matter is that since the microtransactions are compatible across both, and the VFX team need to be able to make them for both games at the same time, that means that we need to have the engine shared. So we actually recently deployed an engine patch, which was a lot of the changes in it. Still like a few issues with it that are being sorted out, but it will continue to upgrade the PoE1. So it means that like new content for PoE1 will be able to just use all those new features. Obviously the main thing though is all the new content is not authored with the engine features in mind, like that is to say the old content. So like that means that like stuff we're doing with shaders and it's not just going to make all the old stuff look good necessarily. But there's the other problem with PoE1 as well, which is that gives two assets code minerals. It's already been happening a bit. Some of these stuff. It kind of makes the PoE1 stuff look worse by comparison, which is a bit of a problem. So you have to be a little bit careful there as well.
Next question. Will there be a silent
everyone else had a really distinct team. We had twice as many classes with all these mechanics to spread out, and the Scion didn't have something that she could focus on specifically in PoE2. We wanted to spread all that. There'll probably be more mechanics that let you be a little more diverse. We wanted it so you could travel further across the tree to do more build combining stuff with the Scion. It was the one in the first place.
Right. It also just makes it more interesting to not have the center path like that. So we made it so there's less nodes required, I believe, that's my understanding, to go around. But there's without that center path, it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult for someone on the opposite side of the tree to go across. So it just kind of makes that whole like skill grimmage thing just a bit more interesting, at least in my opinion.
All right, next question here. Rishi, you might have the answer to this one. Will things like fossils and essences continue to exist in PoE2, or all sorts of crafting be able to hold entirely?
They all exist. Still like the fact that there are ways to accomplish in really interesting ways. But we will be changing how most of these function in some ways. Probably getting to
I think a lot of it is just the philosophy that I have for this stuff is that like I like that we've got a couple of things like the problem is that they all work on every item type or like things like that. It just means that things can get overcomplicated pretty quickly. So for each different crafting system, I'm pretty keen to sort of like pull it back a little bit. So maybe this crafting system works on your body armor or something like that, and this one is for weapons and that kind of stuff. But that's one way of doing it. But it's like, oh, this one only affects like this, like. I don't have a lot of examples off the top of my head, but it's like, you know, you try and sort of make it so that, like, for a given type of item that you're making, there's kind of like some crafting systems that apply that you can think about for that item that you're trying to make. But the other ones you don't really have to worry about so much. So just kind of like pairing it back. But there's certain things that still need to be across all item types to make it interesting. And we might also like reduce the number of options within a given crafting system. So rather than being like, oh, here's a crafting system, like, there's 5 things and that one. That way it's like there's just things kind of
This one has gotten quite a lot of upvotes. Can you please implement cast on dodge roll as a skill, Rory?
If it has a spirit constant, we can balance around it, so that
should be possible.
That does sound pretty cool.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's my issue list.
Will Mageblood, Headhunter, and other iconic chase uniques all exist in PoE 2?
We cannot have a prospect card game without so they will still hopefully be recognizable, but they might have to have a few stats differences as a result of the kind of changing from game mode to game mode. But can you imagine a prospect card game without any stats or right?
Ideally, like make it hand play as close as possible.
Yes,
how they work.
yes,
Yeah, we want absolutely.
All right. Are the planning bots that are being like and such shared across characters? Do I understand that these are
And those are usually bosses that are also
Oh no, there's all the optional ones. The optional ones have them. In fact, that's the reason. The optional ones are the ones that have them more because those are the ones that you want to kind of get you to, like if you want to do them, you know. Like, so yeah.
all right. Let me see. PoE 2, have we considered group play in a more diverse way than just Aurabot plus carry?
We don't have to get rid of them. Well, interesting. Just considering it now, just doing it live.
we have the scepter weapon type.
Yeah.
Or item type. It is more of
I'm not sure how much more there is to it. I mean, one thing is that currently you certainly cannot have as many auras, but that doesn't necessarily quite far along determining that. Still making a lot of skills, still making auras. I mean, we have some interesting auras that really work differently than just nothing.
I think the other thing as well is just say what they are. Because Spirit is like combined with more the cast triggers and so on. There's that trade-off between auras and casts that kind of happen as well. So it's kind of like it does like change the calculus a little bit around that stuff.
We also have players for a second classes that are outside the normal
Yeah, sure. Always.
All right, next question.
Not the best answer there, but I mean, it's what we got.
No, I mean, that's the nature of it. Will there be alternative methods to leveling new alternate characters once you've completed the campaign, or sticking with the philosophy of pushing the campaign with every character?
Like we still believe in the whole push through the campaign thing. It's just one of those things that, like, I don't think that Max would be really a lot of like there's it's one of these philosophical things that I just like always have a bit of trouble with. Like, I'm definitely personally a fan, but I mean, I'm interested to hear what you guys think as well.
I definitely like them. Well, and usually when you go for your second character, your gear is so much better that you can rush through the campaign a lot faster too than the first one.
Hopefully you'll die a few times.
And it's also just worth mentioning that we don't like any form of cross-league
Sirens
progress at
appear
all.
to
Like,
be
that's very
dining
important
well.
that we don't have that. So yeah, that's kind of important.
I don't know if we have an answer to this one yet, but it is a much requested question. Is Reflect Path of Exile?
Mods are still there. Whether or not you can re-roll them away, well, to be determined. What other forms of reflective were there? There's some bosses that have skills that turn on. Those are, none of the new bosses have reflect, so those won't be there because we're not keeping any of those bosses. What other forms. I mean, the Reflect just mods on rares. I mean, we're talking about things like the mods the retaliation mods, as we call them. All of the rare mods revisited. So as to whether or not be something like it, maybe, but we have never done to have a clear bit of mod themselves. People remember from way back when I used to play with people on stream a little bit more, and not before. There were certainly circumstances, and I remember people specifically called me out on it because I shot a lightning arrow off stream and hit a Reflect back and died. And then people were like, oh, they only fixed it because he died. Yes, I certainly went into work the next day and was like, this is bullshit. Like, it's not because other people hadn't suffered, but it certainly gives me a lot more drive when it is directly pissing me off.
All right. Oh, actually, Rishi, you might know this one. Are there any significant changes coming to the crafting bench in PoE2?
So currently we don't have a crafting bench in PoE2 because the vendor has been completely reworked to sort of fill in your problems that you might have by leveling. And you get to do this by saving up your gold over a few levels and then buying whatever it is. Higher level, gold, you see the vendor becomes higher in there, and that's how you drop your problem.
The vendor just doesn't have a pile of white items.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something you actually do engage with, whereas in PoE 1 it's very much in the history it's been the check for 6 sockets. But outside of that it's been mostly useless, and we want it to be way more impactful now.
All right. Will there be challenge leagues for both games, and will they be separate for both? Do I have to do 40-40 and 8 out of 8 twice for every 3 months?
We'll have to think about that one. I haven't thought about
the consistent regen or other means of recovery that any changes to leech or recovery coming to PoE2 to combat that?
It's definitely something that we're letting be much more high cost to your character to have a high amount of regen. You should be able to feel like you can build a regenerative character, but it shouldn't be like, oh, everyone's getting 40% rather than having to instantly kill them with that big hit. Still some one-shots, am I right, Mark?
I feel...
It's a really dodgeable attack that you should have avoided. Maybe?
I feel like this discussion has been the most time-wasted topic in the office. Like, there were so many hours and hours for some reason, it was just the hardest freaking thing to get right. I feel like we've come with like 5 different variants on what we wanted to do that have changed. So honestly, I feel like we're probably going to have 5 more discussions about how much we've wasted like days and time right now. So yeah, I feel like well, that's the thing. We start with like, we have to make this simple, and then we design and we design and we design, and it gets more and more complicated. We're like, oh, god damn it, we have to go back and simplify it again. And like, just every single time, this is why it just spirals around in this cycle. Like, it's just, it's too complicated. But everything simple is also worse. It's terrible.
Well, the last time we had this thing, I remember you was just like, I can't believe we're still talking about this.
And I am being asked just to reiterate that the QR code for sending questions is available to live attendees for Excel content. Apologies to anyone who's live on Twitch or something. Not available for but also questions here. Well, we'll ad-lib a question then. What is that? what is the design philosophy? Those are the classes you fill automatically when you enter.
It's just a feel thing. It just feels nice to have like a, go back to town. Well, it's really hard to answer beyond that. It really is just, it feels nice to do. It's a little bit of a mind change when you first try it, but after you've done it a couple of times, like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It just feels right.
Gone.
Any other questions? Any word on a death recap?
And descended
it's not a feature. Like something that we might get to in one day. Yeah, it's not.
Hopefully in PoE 2 it's going to be a lot more clear what kills you, however, then again, just I know how it is, sometimes you're just dead and you're like, okay, I don't know what happened. And we want to make the visual clarity of PoE 2 will certainly be a lot better and hopefully
we've seen some footage in the trailer of bear form that's mentioned a few times, but are there any other wild forms that it can translate into?
Wolf and bear.
Quite a lot of animation work for each one.
I barely recognize myself.
Well, we have looked at the mod pool of every single item that changes them. We're going to run through what mod pool of the items and everything and a bunch of things. So, I'm not going to say that, every single time we go there, there's going to be another one. But we have changed the mod pool such that they make, I suppose, better sense for the new game.
That is useful to know, but I think maybe the question was driving at the well-rolled thing that Heist had at one point where it was like lucky rolls.
Well, no, that would not be. No.
But there is some stuff, well, maybe it's a little bit in the weeds, but there's some stuff to do with the way that rarity affects things that's a little bit more, it's probably a bit too complicated to get into, but rarity affects things a little bit differently than how it used to.
Frankly, I would have stuck my
tending to use less quantity on things and use rarity instead, and therefore we have to make it so that rarity can, for example, make it so you get more high-tech currency rather than requiring quantity to get that. So basically, like, the intention is that rarity, like more rarity you feel like you're getting more valuable stuff and you don't have to use quantity to go and we also removed the currency.
And that's how you die properly, Saint
anyone
boy.
has done.
No
I've seen it posted
half
before of when you kill bosses you rarely get currency items, and now the best way to get high-tier currency is from bosses.
Yes. Because of the rarity bonus thing, rarity affecting it. Yeah.
Nice.
Fun fact also about mods on items and how good they are. Light radius now extends your mini-map reveal range as you
I didn't expect applause for light radius. All right. We may not have a definitive answer to this yet. In fact, I know we don't, but it's a much requested question. How long do you expect the PoE 2 campaign to take for an experienced Path of Exile player?
I honestly have no idea. Like,
I figured that would be the answer.
When we finish it, I'll let you know. But yeah, like it'll be. Well, yeah, I really don't know.
Oh, this is an interesting question. Is the intent to have a shared endgame story, or a shared story between the two games in general?
We were intending that before, and then it's shared in the sense that it's still one coherent timeline, but it's the end game is now separate from PoE 1 and 2 story-wise, so therefore they'll have separate stories for that.
Okay. Are there any problem monster mechanics that exist in PoE 1 that you're just really happy to be able to get away from and splitting PoE 2 to a new game?
Well, it's a little bit subjective as to what mods annoy people the most. Not really. As I said, we haven't really completely revisited and revamped all the monster mods yet, so that will come up. But I'd say mostly I'm relatively happy with how a lot of the mods are now, but there will be new ones, there will be different ones, so no good answer on that one yet, just because we haven't really gotten around to doing it.
Yeah, I think currently in the demo we just have the same rare monster mods that we have in PoE 1, just because we're really fully.
We disabled a handful of them just because they were visually not up to standards.
I mean, even some of the ones that are in there kind of aren't, but at least we disabled all the shit that was really broken.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still need to get to the rare mods for once.
All right. Any considerations for hand or wrist strain coming from things like opening div cards, crafting items, sorting your stash?
Welcome, husband. We knew in our hearts that you would find us.
Any considerations for improving the situation where hand and wrist strain? So like opening up 1,000 stack swords.
Well, I mean, there are things now that don't require fusing grind and things like that. Like those sort of things we've gotten away from the need to like to just like spam something a lot, like a huge number of times in order to get something mostly. Like I don't think there's much of that left anymore. The whole like spam a bunch of fuses thing is kind of fun, I guess, but it's kind of we don't need to do it anymore.
All right. What's the plan around bringing that targeted noise from PoE1 through to PoE2?
It's complicated. The answer is dependent on each league and the exact specifics of it. But ultimately, we don't want anything in the game that looks bad. So therefore, there has to be like an amount of work that has to go into each one to make it look good. It won't necessarily be exactly the same as it is in Gear 1, but it's as much as possible for stuff to be there. But it's going to require a lot of balance work on stuff to happen. So
As we do it from the mod, as we port them over, so to speak, reintroduce them, modernize the art, like it's certainly going to be the case that at least from the monsters and bosses perspectives, we're going to give them a full fresh coat of paint while keeping what they were at heart.
And it's also likely that not all of the league stuff will be in for the closed beta. Like there'll probably be quite a lot introduced during the closed beta period, just for timing.
Yeah. Makes sense. Next question. Path of XL2 is still free to play, right? Of course. Yeah. Good. This is a fairly broad question, but it's gotten a lot of traction. Will PoE2 be a lot slower than PoE1?
Well, I mean, it's not the goal to make it slower, but ultimately we want to make it so that, like, fights with bosses are fun. So it's just, like, really important. Like, it's likely that the 95th percentile of speed will be a bit slower, and that's just once again to make it actually so that things are like can actually make sense in boss fights and once again be engaging. But like this whole predictable shit. I mean, like we like how like crazy trigger gems and like things that you saw the triple cast unleash and all that sort of stuff. Like there's just all that stuff sort of going on. So like in game will definitely be there's a lot of shit going on that you can do. But yes, it's not going to be quite the level of ridiculous that it does. It's not entirely like 100% done. I'm still more for us to do there, and we're talking about that more later. But it's more about like making it fun for us than the goal of looking at speed. So yeah, as long as it's fun.
And I mean, so far we've approved cast on dodge. Dodge.
Just now.
Yeah. And I heard, and I that's true, but it has been everybody has the points for sticking it. So I mean, you can see how we get but it is certainly nice to not have to start the game from a point where bosses have to have 2-point-something billion life and all kinds of damage caps and people are doing overflowing damage at a time and all that stuff. So, but it's all relative. But nowadays when we have to add a boss to PoE1, like a actual boss, it's pretty much like something like a modifier of life because of these things. But that is what we had to do because of where the numbers have gotten to. So bringing both scales down doesn't mean everything's much slower, but it certainly allows us to then have more room to add more pinnacle bosses with more life over another 10 years of content, right?
So we talked about is there any plan to port forward older bosses like the Shaper to be in capacity?
We'll see. Yeah, like we have to see what we do.
There's room for it. We haven't decided exactly what to do with each of them at this point in time, but I mean, it would be great.
Yeah,
a lot of that is really awesome.
Okay, cool. I'd like to see it. Will loot filters still exist in PoE 2?
Yep. No reason to take them out.
Nice, excellent. Div cards. That's the whole question. Will div cards exist?
We still need to work that out. I mean, I want them there. Like, I think they're cool. Like, they don't so I would certainly hope we have them.
Alright. How will acquiring skill gems on subsequent characters work if there being no skill gem mechanisms to use gems to ready for your level?
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably have access uncut gems, especially low-level ones, so there should be no issue.
Yeah, they're dropping in the place of skill gem drops, so you'll have them as you go through.
Yeah. Okay. Rory, can the bear form dodge roll? I think we answered this.
Yes, the bear form can dodge roll. As expected, the bear is slightly slower to perform but then they have a larger period of the melee and projectile avoidance while they were more fun to do like donuts as a bear because of the fact that you can change your direction quite easily.
It travels further.
Yeah, it travels further. So like it rolls at the same speed.
Yeah, same. It's always the same as your movement speed.
Yeah, so it's because it's longer time difference.
Do all the new classes have three ascendancies? Yeah. Not shared between different classes. How are you going to manage the fragmentation of the player base?
We've set up our
gemify a boss. I guess there's different like voice lines, like one kind of line
the sort of most fundamental, like the only thing, I guess technically there's three things. One of them is the most of your fundamental base character model, the other one is the more personal, and
was
you're getting
love
that like
that
live
did this to
storytelling
me.
as they're talking about it, and it makes you feel
Duresso gave me the
a lot
gem,
more connected to your
kissed me,
character.
promised
has
that
been
he would be
Theory
by my
1.
side
There's
forever.
also just nice little touches, like we've got recorded specific voice lines for engaging specific
It's
monster
nice to
types
see
and
there's
things like
still
that.
some
And,
life
like, that's
in
pretty
this
cool. There's like
twitching
how you
corpse of the
sort of think like,
continent.
how does this character feel about this type of monster and this kind of thing. So yeah, it's
I don't know who's casting gameplay different. This was supposed to shout at the robots and say foul automaton.
Yeah, exactly.
But she hates robots for some reason. Rory, is the passive tree as dense as it is in PoE 1?
Yes, we don't have masteries in the way that they are in PoE 1, but there is more passives in total, I believe, and maybe not if you cut out the sign. I'll have to do the math, but there's a lot more going on in the passive tree in terms of different forms of things that you can customize your character with, focusing specifically on taking out enemies on low life, but potentially putting in that situation more easily. So there's more variety for what's on the tree, and because of that, there's more options for what you can be taking in any one character. We have far fewer, say, weapon-specific clusters. There's only one main cluster that is focused on axes, so you're focusing more on general melee mechanics, which also means that it's slightly more convenient with the weapon swap system as well.
Yeah. Sorry. Are there any major archetypes, such as traps, brands, slams, etc., that are being done away with in PoE 2?
Brands, I think, are
brands
are sort of merged with totems, really.
Yeah, I don't think any of the kind of like it's really a merge, more of a merge.
I don't know if this means you can stick a totem on a monster yet, but that's what support games are for.
I hope it means that.
We've kind of unified traps and mines.
Yeah, that's yeah, the way that works, I suppose you probably explained it.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, like we've got a trap
It's just the base
type
that determines
you can
whether it's a
choose.
trap or
So
a
then
mine.
any skill could be a trap or a mine, depending on base type you use.
But all your favorite trap or your favorite mine skills are probably going to exist if they can exist in PoE 2. Just now you choose whether they're a trap or a mine, right?
How will ascendancies be unlocked in PoE 2?
Well, we haven't announced specifically the way, but we have in each of the first 3 acts. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. So for acts 2 to 4, there's a thing specific for that act that you'll do for ascending, and we'll announce what those are later.
Cool.
It's not the labyrinth.
It's not the labyrinth.
Confirmed, at least not labyrinth. What do utility flasks look like in PoE 2?
So utility flasks are generally going to be more reactive to things. Like, for example, the flask might say you become immune to burning if you use it while you're burning, which is similar to some of the mods that appear on flasks. So that is what the utility flask itself is going to do. So it's no longer just, flask piano. You have your buffs up kind of all the time. It's more of a when something happens to you, you then use the flask in response to that.
All right.
We also have effectively a guard flask.
Yes.
Taking the place of guard skills in most ways. And it's there as your emergency. I'm about to take a lot of damage.
Yeah, and I suppose that one is proactive, but it's like a short burst of like a shield, where the guard flask absorbs a percentage of the damage that is happening to you. So you can use it as like a oh shit, I'm standing in the slam, I shouldn't be. Press the flask.
Yeah, it's not something you're going to want to be pianoing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If that was the concern. With the changes to caster weapons, will wanders still exist, like attack wand builds? And if so, in what form?
Some of the wand inherent skills
are actually
effectively the wand skills. So, and there'll be ways, of course, because it's part of Exile, there'll be ways to focus on specifically your wand or your staff's spell and make that into your main damage spell somehow.
In those cases, though, have those skills been ported into being a spell themselves? Like a kinetic blast is now a spell on a wand, so it's
absolutely.
not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you still get to do that.
Yeah, you
still it's still kinetic blast. It's just a spell instead of an attack.
It's just that it deals spell damage. In a sense. But.
Will it be any easier to respec your build during the campaign in PoE 2?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Will it be any easier to respec your build in the course of the campaign in PoE 2?
I mean, I don't think we haven't really thought too much about it. I'd say it's probably similar.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess at least with the skill gems, it's a bit easier to change those over due to the way that the uncut stuff works. But as far as like passive goes, it's probably fairly similar. We'll give you some respec points, from time to time and things like that.
You could always save some of your split passives to try out something, but then you need to respec them afterwards.
Yes.
Right. This is the most upvoted question I've seen ever on this, is will there be fishing in PoE 2?
Well, is there even fishing in PoE 1?
I'm not at liberty to say.
What? Wait, did you not hear?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
What is fishing?
Yeah.
So we don't have, it must be a non-New Zealand thing.
I'll explain it to you backstage later. Since the sockets are now moving to the skill gems themselves, will we know the number of sockets an uncut gem will give us on the gem it's generating, or will we only see those after we've cut it?
So every gem gets 2 supports as a starting point. There's 3 tiers of jewelers basically that takes you from 2 up to 5 sockets, which is equivalent to 6 of them. So eventually, they don't drop with more, or it's likely that they'll come to the that's just easy to do.
I think as it currently stands, it generates random colors, and I know that because I was very worried it was going to generate colors that we couldn't use in the demo.
Yeah, I believe that the intent is that it's a fixed skill starting point.
A lot of these are repeats. Are channeling skills like Divine Eye are coming to PoE 2?
Yes, we still have channeling skills. I mean, there's a few demo characters. We have a lot of more more of a longer time, but they also have the ability to change direction and what you can always go roll out. Special moves.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play with a channeling skill in the demo, then pick the warrior. He's got the supercharged slam.
Cover your Mason rocks. It's one of the best things to cover your Mason.
I will take your word for it. Are jewels still in the game? In basic up to more complicated flavors?
Yes, they are.
Is the Quicksilver flask still in the game?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Die, Quicksilver. And also more gold.
What is the overall, that's a big question, but touch on it a bit. What is the overall design philosophy for mana costs and mana sustain in PoE 2?
I mean, I guess it would be hard to quantify easily, but now that you have a mana pool, because you're not reserving all the mana, like it means we can actually have some design here, in terms of like some skills costing more, some costing less, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a thing now. But yeah, like obviously, like you need to be able to build your character such that you can sustain yourself. Like there's going to need to get some mana regen nodes and things like that. But also, like I would hope that mana flasks are a thing you can actually use to make sustain a thing. There's things like that. But I mean, once again, it's sort of hard to quantify. It really comes down to sort of just playing and finding out what feels right.
I am Lena, a beast.
Rory, you have the answer to this one. How does charge generation work in PoE 2, and are there any differences with charges, power, frenzy, endurance?
So charges no longer give inherent stat bonuses. They're almost entirely as a thing to then spend on a very, very powerful effect. So the skills that will gain charges, we started off with designing ones that every time you hit an enemy gain a charge, but moved on to more of a design of when you see a situation open up where you can gain a charge, you should use the skill to gain a charge to take advantage of the situation. And then you can unleash something incredibly devastating. The bonuses that skills that spend charges get are huge, and the support gems that cause the skill to consume charges will also give a huge damage bonus to that skill at the cost of preventing that skill being able to gain it anymore. So while a skill is being used to spend charges, it can't gain charges. So you always have to be spending an effort to gain them rather than just expecting to be at full charges and being able to spend them at will. It's a real build-defining thing. An investment in charges is about you're focusing on the charge gainers and the charge spenders as part of your build.
But it's not something we'd expect every character to be engaging with necessarily. It's just like some characters are going to be doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
others not.
you don't enjoy the playstyle. The monk's all got quite a few skills about power charges, but he's got quite a lot of skills that aren't about power charges as well, if you still want to engage with that mechanic.
It's no longer like a checkbox you have to get on every character. Get frenzy charges, get power charges.
And a lot of the charge spenders as well are perfectly good skills if you never touch the charge mechanic as well. You can still use Falling Thunder for its AoE, and you can still use Flicker Strike to close in on enemies. In fact, Flicker Strike has no cooldown anymore, so if you somehow get crazy amounts of attack speed, then where there's a will, there's a way.
And we have time for one more question here, so let's make it a good one. If I can find one here. We'll end on a party play one. Are item drops in PoE2 instanced or shared with party members? I imagine it's the same method as PoE1.
Same as him. Yep.
Yeah. Though you should play free-for-all and steal things from each other. That was a quick one, so we actually do have time for one more. What system or item, this is a big one, were you most excited about being able to design into PoE2 that couldn't fit into PoE1?
I wanted to get Spirit in PoE1 for years, and then when I pitched it for Jonathan for PoE2, I was like, yes, it's finally, it's Spirit's time.
I mean, for me, it's just all about the melee combat improvements. I'm just like a huge fan of actually making sure the action combat feels good. So like, it's just all about those really fine details of just, like all the stuff around dodge cancel and like all of the, just like making sure you never lose control of your character and like the cancel windows for like different skills. Just all those really fine details. That's really kind of what makes me happy. I just want someone to be able to play our game like it. Just like if someone just like random person walks up and they start playing, they're like, oh yeah, this is a great action game, and then all the depth is just like an additional thing that they learn about later that gets them really into the game and becomes more of a thing later. But it's like your first impression of just like, this is a great action game. I just really want that to feel good.
All right. Well, I think that's all our time. Unless we've got any more comments you'd like to add.
I think for me, the most exciting thing was when we were able to add 6 more classes, because I've actually wanted a druidic archetype in the game for a while, and finally got to do.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's very cool.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the most exciting part for me.
And mine is definitely just being able to engage with monsters and bosses on a more meaningful level, which is part of that feel. Even if I end up dying to them during very critical keynote presentations, that is what makes it satisfying, and that is what makes it enjoyable.
All right, well, thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks.
And we're gonna head off.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, what is up guys, Bonds here. Today I'm making a super fire trap beat in King of a Band Lab. As you can see, some things got moved around in my room. My bed is now right directly behind me, even though it used to be over there a little bit. So basically just moved the bed across the room, and I think it looks a lot nicer now. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a room tour in a little while, because I've changed my room setup in like 4 different times since I moved into this house. But anyway, you're not here for the room tour, you're here for the beat. So let's just get into the beat, let's get into it. Woo! So as you can see, we're using headphones now. I'm gonna be going through some plugin recommendations in this video because honestly you don't really need that much, but I really want to show you what I'm using right now so you guys can kind of get a good sense into my workflow. So just get into it. I think I'm gonna do some plucky kind of things with this Pandora, so I'm just gonna do kind of fast stuff. Let's go to like 160 beats per minute, something like that. And then I'll loop that one little thing over a little bit, and then let's do that. And then I'm gonna loop that thing over, and then I'll loop this little guy over, and then you go like that. That's kind of cool. Ooh, I like that. So let me just kind of show you a couple things I was working on that melody. Whenever I placed a note, I was holding Alt while I was clicking, and that made me place a note. And whenever I duplicated a section, I selected it by holding right click and dragging, and then hit Control D, and automatically copies. Now I'm going to drag in a halftime plugin. Halftime actually has a really cool system where you can have a demo version, and you can just use it as a normal halftime. And then I'm gonna add a little drip on here.
Literally 2 clicks.
And then I'm gonna drag on a reverb plugin, which is Fahal Supermassive. And this plugin just has so many amazing options. I'm gonna use a chorus effect on here. Ooh, nice. And then I'll drag another one on, and I'll use their medium-sized forward reverb plugin. I think I'm gonna add some one-shots to this to add a little bit more movement to the sound.
How's it going? Arian here. It's going to be my play session here for
I'm gonna drag on some of the same effects.
It is one that I have not a lot of hands-on experience with. I did play Path of Exile 2, the first thing that they had in
like
the
a synth
last
sound maybe?
ExileCon many years back, but that was still one. It was part of the Path of Exile 1 client, I guess we're calling it.
I gotta be careful though, it's not add too many sounds in the same
even though it's
frequency
the second
range.
day
I have
of
span on the master channel, here's what it looks like.
I had maybe a small chance to play at the end of the day yesterday, and Rania kind of held me back.
So if I'm gonna add anything to this melody, it's gotta be like above 3K hertz.
Playthrough. So yes, absolutely, she was right. And we are going to check it out here. I actually really wanted to try the Huntress, because the Huntress is kind of like the first intro that I saw to Path of Exile 2, so I was quite interested to get my hands and try it. So now I finally get to do that. And normally when I play, a lot of the keybinds are quite different than the ones that I'm sure are default here in the Emporium.
That's nice, that's what I'm doing.
So this might be a little bit of
A-flat.
a little bit of a different experience. Okay, sure. Let's see how this works. Walking around. I have been told that, you know, the feel for the game takes a little bit of getting used to, because playing feels a little bit different than Path of Exile 1. And I've also been told that generally the hardest characters to complete their
also
kind
add a
of
little bit
45-minute
gliding
campaign run or so. We're getting quests here. Defeat the Sun Clan Hyenas. Sure.
If I can help them.
Oh, let's see what we actually are using. Rapid Assault. Okay. Okay. What's that? Whirling Slash. so it just kind of stays on there. 11 mana. Extra lightning damage. Do we get lightning damage from the skill? Oh, no, we have the lightning damage from the weapon. Chance to maim.
I'm drawing 2 Hyets like that.
Deflect. Oh, I
Turn
was
one
reading
of the
Reddit
velocities
about
way
this.
up,
I think
and
deflect
we just
is kinda
copy
like
that
spell
around.
suppression, but for non-spell hits, for melee, I guess. I guess that would be it. Whirling slash, or circular slash. Okay. It seems to last a couple seconds. Leaving the area unleashes a swirling storm. Oh, I see. So it's like an area hit. And then if I leave it blows up. Got it. Okay.
I like that a lot. What I'm doing is I'm like accenting the snare hits with little rolls. So.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, Path of Exile 2, the only hands-on experience that we get is kind of this demo, and this demo is tuned to be very difficult. So I can dodge out of it, which is pretty nice. I can spam that, right? So I do that dodge. I mean, I guess it takes some time because the dodge roll does take a little bit to work.
Nice.
The jab does seem pretty powerful. Okay, one skill at a time.
Nice.
Stun enemies without dealing 50% more damage. Looks like it has a good damage multiplier because that lightning damage is getting doubled by about 200%. Where are my gems actually? Okay, so S is gems. Okay, why don't we actually check out the skills this way? So Rapid Assault is actually not all that rapid in terms of attack speed modifier, but I guess it does a lot of hits. It does seem to do quite a bit of damage though. Final Strike is 288. Oh, I see. I see.
I think we need to have less hits on the kick drum and the 808.
Actually, the Whirling Slash, slowing enemies and blinding them in its area. Oh, I see. So you're gonna get that accuracy bonus. Might be good to use for the damage, but at least per stage. Oh, I see. Using an attack in the storm as one stage, the maximum of 3 stages. So you want to put this up,
and then just
do
copy
some
that little guy
combat in
over,
it, and then run out. But that's a little bit counterintuitive because usually you want to open up with AoE to get rid of the weaker monsters in the area. Okay. Spear Field. I like that. Okay, what does that do? Stab the ground, causing multiple spears.
Okay, so this beat's coming along pretty nicely, but it's the mixing between the melody and the drums that isn't just sitting right.
Or explode when enemies touch them requires a spear.
Not really sure what it is, but something is really off.
Effective maim. Now in PoE 1, maim increases physical damage dealt to the target. I'm hoping that's still the same. Herald of Thunder grants a buff.
Much better.
Oh, so we should probably get that going. Oh, that's all my spirit. Okay.
Sounding so much cleaner.
Converts 100% physical to lightning. Interesting. Is that all of my skills? No, that's just the damage from the Herald of Thunder.
Yeah, something like that. Just kind of have some like accents on the right beats.
Never played before. Killing shocked enemies. That's kind of the same. Okay, that's good. I actually quite like the Heralds in the regular game. Storm
That's nice.
Spear.
That's nice. So we're just gonna loop that little guy.
Projectiles.
Like that.
Spears cannot split. Okay. Modifiers the number of projectiles instead apply to the maximum number of lightning bolts fired.
Okay, I'm gonna try something for this. I have a low drop this time.
Okay.
I want to try something that's just a little bit unique. I'm gonna have an interesting like drum pattern right at the beginning. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete the second, third, and fourth quarter note on the drum pattern, and then I'm gonna take the first quarter note of the drum pattern, and I'm gonna duplicate it over 3 times.
We have puncture. Do we have puncture? Oh,
ooh, that's kind of cool. I wonder if that's going to sound good on our melody too, or if it's not going to sound as good.
Lunge forward, melee damage, more powerful, requires a spear, causes bleeding, 200% more damage
that sounds
based
good.
on the distance traveled, hits stun as though dealing 50% more. That's probably really good for single target. And impale, jump back from the target, dealing melee damage and attempting to immobilize them cannot be performed without targeting an enemy. Immobilize as though dealing more damage. I guess it immobilize effect is based on the damage. A lot of the effects seem to be based on the damage.
I'm also going to look and see if I can find like
a here. So puncture.
A crash kind of symbol thing.
Okay, well, it still died in 1 hit. That's pretty good. see how these work?
Like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Is that like
you can copy
getting
that
hit?
down.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So as it's walking towards me, it's getting hit by the spears. It's not a lot of damage, but it does.
That little crash that really ties it all together.
Probably adds up to quite a lot. Let's try Storm Spear.
Nice.
Let me know what you think about this new.
Quite a bit.
Whoa, my hair. Should probably just keep my headphones on. Anyway, I have 2 videos every single week, one on Sunday, one on Thursday. Subscribe for both of those. Also, I have a Discord server, link in the description. We just hit 310 members, which is ridiculous. Like 310 members. So it might be too late if you're seeing this now, but my beat contest ended today at midnight. So from the time this video is coming out, you have 12 hours to make your beat. 12 hours is enough to make a beat, but you have to check out the other video for the details on how to do that contest. Also, I just want to let you know that I'm planning on doing bi-weekly beat content.
All right, I'll just keep using that for now. Once we get to harder targets, I'll probably try to mix it up a little bit. But normally these playthroughs are about 45 minutes. You can play above 45 minutes. It like logs you up. You can log back in if you really want to play some more. But my goal is to try to finish the playthrough with the Huntress and then move on and play the Warrior, which is the Act 4 one, which I have been told is the hardest one. Generally, the difficulty seems to be with the overall amount of time it takes to cast skills, and the Warrior is unfortunately very slow at that, and of course, that's just for the demo. Man, I really like this lightning skill. It just feels really satisfying to use. You have to aim it, but you don't have to try that hard to aim it. The clear is very good. And you have like this kind of cone effect on it, so you know, funneling the monsters toward a certain area seems to pay out. What is this stone thing? Okay, let's just try some of the other skills.
Today we're going to be looking at 5 reasons why you might use Cakewalk as your DAW.
Oh yes.
Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Now, often reading in forums that people are looking for a free DAW to get started with their home recording experience. And I think it's a shame that people overlook Cakewalk by BandLab. So I thought I'd put together 5 reasons why I think you should consider this DAW, and even if you're experienced in recording, you could still consider it if you're thinking about swapping over. But before we get into that, if you like this kind of content, all about home recording, DAWs, plugins, gear reviews, that kind of thing, then please do subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube